Hello and welcome to The Big Fight. Now, there are many things that we should be really proud about when it comes to our country and especially our history as a democracy. And one of those things is the fact that the Indian Army has never been politicized. We are a very rare country among those who become independent in the last 100 years or so that the Army has never ever been politicized. We all love the Army, we respect them, we admire the bravery, the sacrifice that our soldiers are making, functioning in the most difficult of terrains in very difficult circumstances, giving their lives for the country. And that is something that all of us as Indians are proud of. We take pride in it, we honor our soldiers and we salute our soldiers. There's no two ways about it. But despite that, the Army has never ever been politicized in all of these years, and it's stayed above it. You never even can imagine a situation in India as you would have in other countries, notably to our western border, where there have actually been army takeovers or military coups and all of that. It's unthinkable in India. The reason I'm saying all of this is that in just the recent past, there are some who are beginning to wonder and be a little scared about the possibility that the Army is starting to become a political tool. And it's being criticized by people for political reasons, and it's being praised in a certain manner by a different set of people also for political reasons. And suddenly the Army, which has never been politicized, is becoming a political football somewhere in all of this. You'll have people who are saying anybody who does not completely and totally support every single thing that the Army does, they are anti-nationals. You're having TV channels which are actually marketing themselves on the pictures of dead army soldiers with their coffins wrapped in the national flag, and they're marketing itself with that. You're having people who will ever criticize the Army being called anti-nationals. On the other side, as I said, politically, the Army is also being attacked. I think this is a trend that we need to think about, we need to worry about, we need to be maybe slightly concerned about, because there are very few institutions that actually stand above the morass of politics. The Army has been one of them. Should we politicize it? Joining us for more on that, GVL Narasimha Rao, representing the BJP. Great to have you with us. We have Javid Shergill representing the Congress Party. It's a pleasure and an honor to have Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, of course, one of the top and the most respected Army officers whom we've had. It's great to have you with us. Ms. Major General G.D. Bakshi joining us as well with strong views on this entire subject. Manoj Joshi, distinguished fellow ORF, has been studying the Army and been very closely associated, actually spent a lot of time with the Army in many areas. So you've reported on it, as indeed has Saikat Datta. So thank you all so much for joining us. Let me start, General Saab, with the basic premise that I outlined. It's been one of the things that I'm sure you as an Army person and everyone whom you have commanded in the Army must have taken a great deal of pride in, that the Army has never been politicized all these years. Why? Why has the Army never been politicized?
The Indian Army from the time of independence has remained completely apolitical. Now there are two facets to it. Firstly, the internal dynamics of the Army. Even till today, I can assure this nation that the Army internally remains completely apoliticized. That means nothing in the Army is done with a political leaning. The Army works for the government, whichever political party is in power, and there have been many instances which one can quote, and you can quote them better than I can, that Army has told the political leadership that this is a wrong thing to do, it is not Army task. You would remember, I don't want to recall what happened in 1971, a conversation between Mrs. Gandhi and Field Marshal Manekshaw, then Chief of the Army Staff. I do not know how many of you are aware of the kind of conversation that took place between Prime Minister Narasimha Rao and the then Army Chief General Rodrigues. And there are many such instances, one doesn't have to go through it. The Army has always maintained that don't use us for political purposes, don't ask us to form part of any rallies, don't ask us to send water trucks for a political party's business. We will not support any political party. And the fact today that because of certain military actions that we take, the political parties either want to draw positive mileage out of it or somebody else wants to make negative out of it. It is completely wrong, and I do not recognize this. I do not appreciate this at all, because if you do this, you are going to ask for serious trouble in due course. And what is happening at the end of it, you reduce the potential of the Army.
So, GVL, what do you make of what's just been said?
What has been stated is an absolute truth. And this country, even till date, I think our armed forces remain completely professional, completely apolitical. None of the influences of caste, religion, region have ever affected our army. But the narrative that we see in the recent months, certainly political parties, particularly I would blame the opposition and I will name them. You see, it was the army which carried out the surgical strikes some 6 months ago. And the announcement to the world was not made by a defense minister or by a political leader. The announcement was made by the DGMO, Director General Military Operations. It was a professional presser. And you had political parties and leaders, like I can name them, including even Rahul Gandhi, Sanjay Nirupam. You had Arvind Kejriwal questioning surgical strikes.
GVL, I hear you loud and clear. I'm just questioning, okay, but yes, that should not have been politicized by people. I get the point that you're making. However, isn't it happening on both sides? For example, the need to take a serving officer of the Indian Army and put him before television cameras and ask him to explain certain actions, it's somewhat rare. It's not the sort of a thing that we've seen in the past in India. Isn't that also politicization?
No, Vikram, no, that shows our transparency. And this is, as a stated policy, this government has actually wanted to go public with the kind of cross LOC strikes that we have carried out, whether it was 6 months ago or recently. I think these announcements have not been made by a political party. That's a part of your overall strategy to deal with the kind of cross-border terrorism that you have faced as a country. We have taken Pakistan even to the International Court of Justice. Okay. I think statecraft doesn't mean that you have to remain silent like Dr. Manmohan Singh and not speak a word about what your military is doing.
I just want to add one more point to what I said to start with. No, I just want to say one more point, whatever I said in the beginning. You see, it is not in the interest of national security. It's not in the interest of the army. It's not in the interest of the government to advertise and talk about tom-tom every action the army takes. You are telling the enemy a lot of things which you don't need to tell them. The army must remain quietly doing its work. The government needn't advertise it. And that is where the politicization. If one political party says great surgical strike, the other will say no, we want to see evidence about it. The best thing to do for the army, and if you really want the army to remain professional, which I'm sure the government wants it to remain professional, is to keep everything under wraps. Disclose just as much as bare minimum.
Javed, you want to respond to what JVL said, first of all, that the politicization of the army is being done by the opposition?
To respond metaphorically, BJP giving sermons on politicization of armies like devil quoting from the Bible. For the past 2.5 years, we have seen how military operations have been transformed into political harvest to reap political benefits. Have you ever heard defense minister of any nation to say, army conducted a surgical strike all thanks to RSS training? Me and the Prime Minister are like Hanuman, who have made the army realize their prowess to go across the border. Now, is this not politicization? Pradhan Mantri Modi was painted as Arjun, Amit Shah as Krishna, put across the posters in Uttar Pradesh, and votes were sought in their name. And this is not the first time. The blood of the soldier was reduced to election pamphlet in Delhi elections in the year 2013. So BJP need not learn. And Vikramji, tell me one thing. Okay, you want to take credit? Day after the Uri attack, BJP curtailed the disability pension fund of the Indian Army. So do you want to use army to take credit for votes, and the same tone, same breath, put an axe on them, cut their disability pension? Okay, last comment. When you want army, tom-tom around army names, Mr. Parikar wants to show his chest thumping, and when Tej Bahadur says, I'm not being given proper food, you yell conspiracy. Yeah, Vikram, I think it is this government that has given OROP that remained vexatious for 4 decades. So let them not tell us how to really look after our veterans. Coming to the question about talking about the surgical strikes, but have the opposition, this is a reality of television today, reality of a democracy, I would say. A Uri attack happens. Have you not seen the political leaders coming out and waxing eloquent, commenting about the failures of the government? Does it work only one way? The opposition will keep attacking the ruling party and attack us for every violation that happens at the border. But when we talk about the retaliation that our forces have done,
which is announced by the forces themselves, it becomes politics.
So let me just put that to you before, and I'm going to come back to the army people. So his point is essentially, if the opposition is going to attack or criticize what the army is doing, like for example, in the most recent case, why was this person used as a human shield, then they are justified in coming out with a counter narrative as to why this was happened. That's, I think, in essence, what GVL is saying.
I think I think we lurch between extremes to question army's every move.
That's normal for 2016.
Yes.
Everything is extreme.
Extreme. Now,
I haven't even started on the TV channels. I'm about to come to that.
Now to question the government that why are you crediting or taking credit for army operations for political gains in Uttar Pradesh elections? Yes, we will question them. If that's politicization, we will do politicization. Second, if asking the government why a 70-year-old, I'm sure whether he remembers his name or not, the army gentleman who committed suicide during OROP, why is he still protesting outside Prime Minister's house? Why did he have to commit suicide? If that's politicization, we will do politicization. Third, as the respected gentleman from the army said, you have to keep quiet. If you have a different strategy, God bless you. Okay. But if you use the blood of the soldier to ask for votes and you equate yourself to Hanuman or you equate yourself to Lord Krishna or Arjun and the Mahabharata and say this could not have happened ever before, then I'm sorry, you are on a different track. And thirdly, they are senior to me, they can vouch for this. Army does not have the tradition or the culture to be used on election posters of any political party.
We have never done that. And I certainly do not.
Factually wrong. I have a photo in front of me. Mr. Parikh was present in Lucknow rally where the army general's picture, Prime Minister Modi's picture was used, and he was part of that rally and he said we are like Hanuman.
Do not approve of this, Vikram. I think there are people in the Congress party who made posters of Sonia Gandhi as goddess Durga.
Okay.
This was done by the Congress party leaders. That was when the Congress was in power. I think you...
Is that the reason Mr. Parikh had to say, I'm going back to Goa, I can't take the pressure of Kashmir, but I will use that to ask for votes and become a Hanuman?
I think stop lying. We do not approve of anyone, any political party, and certainly not our party, using any images of army.
Did you haul up those leaders?
We certainly don't do it.
Did you check Mr. Parikh?
Okay, can we just come back?
Come on, stop. Did you remove Sanjay Nirupam?
So are you following our example now? Is that, are you saying you will ape whatever we do? Is that the new solidarity? Okay.
Sanjay Nirupam,
you yourself get Congress booked. Bhajpa, we were talking about Congress booked. Don't be obsessed with what we do.
Okay. So was he not articulating Rahul Gandhi's view?
Okay, did
Rahul Gandhi apologize for Khoon ki dalali comment?
Yes, you did dalali in the name of the soldiers asking for votes.
Does it not?
You did dalali. You sold the blood of the soldiers to ask for votes in Uttar Pradesh.
This is what I don't want to happen. This is exactly what we must avoid.
Yeah, actually, I was about to say, but hang on.
Can we avoid this?
Can I just pause? GVL,
I think we need to avoid this.
I know we need to avoid this, and by the way, can I just say, when it comes to the politicization of the army, actually, in recent times, can I just say that I actually don't blame the politicians for it as much as I blame sections of the media and sections of social media, because frankly, and I'm going to come to both of you now as journalists, at the end of the day, if you see what has been happening on some of the TV channels, actually, I think it would be fair to say that the BJP or the Congress has perhaps, or any of the others in the opposition have done less politicization than you're actually seeing rolling itself out on primetime television, on news shows, on various forums on social media, and that's where it is becoming really, really bad. Salute the Indian Army. If anybody says anything, you have insulted our brave hearts. It's going on constantly. It's on a daily basis. Is that where the real politicization is coming from, Cycle?
See, let's cover a few grounds quickly. For example, in 1974, when the Israeli Special Forces flew 2,000 kilometers to rescue the hostages and came back, that was a huge political movement in the history of Israel. Nobody spoke about it. They always kept quiet about it. In 2011, when the American Special Forces went into Abbottabad to get Osama bin Laden, you never saw a general or any politician making...
No, they took a lot of credit for it. When Osama was killed, Obama came out, he had a press conference,
Let me just clarify this. At midnight, a whole transcript was put out, and all the officials who were speaking from the Pentagon, from the CIA, from the Special Operations Command, everybody was anonymous, and a whole lot of information which is factual was put out. Now, this is the key thing about any military strategy. It has to be felt and not heard. Moment you start talking about it, you're actually undermining your own military strategy. Okay. And today what is happening is, dead soldiers are very useful when you want to market something, because nobody can question it and it's very easy to exploit those emotions.
But as I'm saying, actually, if you think about it, it's many in the media, it's many in other areas, there's many on social media who are doing it even more than the government is.
This is
the example which you just took about marketing the dead body of a soldier wrapped in the Indian flag. It's actually been done not that far in the recent past by TV channels, not so much by a politician.
This is the problem. You see, you want to quickly be recognized as a new television channel or a new publication. So the easiest thing that you can do, because emotions are already riding very high, you suddenly take a very polarized view, and what is happening is none of the issues which are substantial to the military are ever discussed. Instead, what you do is you only look at the emotive part of it, and as a result what's happening is you're misleading a whole lot of people, and the army is actually suffering. I've been speaking to a whole lot of company commanders, and they are shocked because the kind of confusion they are now facing on ground is because of what's happening on TV and how their dead soldiers are being used to market those things. They are talking
Manoj,
about
would you agree with that?
We are witnessing a situation of war porn. And pornography, you see, gratifies, it never satisfies. And what do? It's an excess. And so you're seeing this excess, you know, and you see these TV clips of soldiers moving through the pine forest. And there is the other, which we haven't spoken about, which is Pakistan. So you're really, the whole thing is directed at Pakistan, the enemy out there. And certainly, I would be lying if I said this whole thing is directed at electoral gains. Because why is the media doing it? The media does it for two reasons. One is the TRP part of it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean the media is doing it for TRP.
Wait.
It's popular.
No, but that's
salute the soldiers. These guys are insulting the army.
That's only one part. The second part of it is that the media also want to make the government of the day happy. But don't blame the media. Blame the government of the day, because let me tell you that the source of all this, the source of the pull towards this, because there was also a government earlier, you didn't have that. There were also strikes across the LOC earlier. They were not publicized. Okay. So the pull is coming from the government. They are trying to market. They are electorally marketing hyper-nationalism.
No, I think Mr. Manoj Joshi himself is a journalist, and I think it's a pathetic comment coming from him. This BJP doesn't run television channels or newspapers in this country, and you have a congressization of the media that has happened for several decades. And he possibly thinks that congressization must continue and media should not do independent reporting. We are not taking anybody, filling them into a bus and then carrying them to the LOC to do any live television. It is the television channels, NDTV itself. You've been going into the war field, you've reported Kargil. This was not done at the instance of the government. I think if the media is covering it, is hyping it, as according to you, I think then blame the media, blame yourself. You are all part of the media. Why are you pointing fingers at the government?
Actually, I did start by blaming ourselves. I did start by blaming ourselves, and I do see that we are not holding daily press conferences. Because Manoj, and I tell you why I agree with GVL.
The media
on this, I will agree with GVL, and I'll agree with GVL for a very simple reason, that the government may want you to do something. The government may push you to do something. If you decide to crawl for no rhyme or reason, it's your decision as a media to do it. In fact, what the media should be doing is they should be hearing what the President of India said to them. So, you know, the President of India can't be accused of being anti-national. I hope in this day and era anything is possible. But the media should pay regard to what the President of India had to say just a couple of days back, and it was very strong. The media needs to be careful. It needs to do its job as a watchdog. But I want to flash up some of the comments that he made. Don't allow the loudest voices or hysterical voices to drown down all sources of disagreement, and that's something that the media should pay attention to.
Let's look at this issue of martyrs. You know, a lot of television channels now are shouting from the rooftops, martyrs, martyrs, martyrs. What they're trying to do is glamorize the death of a soldier, because if you want to remove the ugliness of the fact that the man is dead and has died in the service of the country, then it becomes a great marketing gimmick. And once you start glamorizing it, it becomes a great marketing tool to actually use it. And unfortunately, how is that affecting the army officers and soldiers? They are on social media today looking at all this, anonymously expressing comments, and actually getting completely confused on ground.
Okay, General Bakshi.
No, kindly see the coverage of wars in the other countries. The other democracy that you've got is the United States. See the amount of coverage their veterans get. It is a recognition that the nation gives to the people who have died. So, if the media is covering the death of our martyrs, what they are going through, the sacrifice they have made, I think it is only justified. Not doing it would be trying to tell the army that we couldn't care less how many of you die. This is the nation's way of saying, yes, we care. So, I wouldn't agree there that we are having this. What I would like to state is that, there is something called initiative. Don't shackle initiative. The fight is done by the captains and corporals at the cutting edge.
You not reached there.
You can't do it from Delhi.
Okay.
You cannot do it from Delhi.
No. So let's reach there. Let's reach there.
The question that General Bakshi needs to look at is what we are talking about is the political parties drawing mileage out of what is happening to the soldiers.
Political parties or TV channels or anybody else.
You see, the question,
General Bakshi,
the question that is being raised is that is it proper for political parties to draw mileage out of what the army is doing or not doing? That's the question. Now, whether army needs to be told to the public of the great job that we're doing is a different matter altogether. Whether captains and majors, we haven't reached that stage yet today in our debate.
Yeah.
What is the critical issue at the moment is that is it proper for political parties to use the army's action for their political gains, one political party to another political party? And what is the role of the media in it?
Can you stop it? In the 1971 war, let me. In the 1971 war, I mean, we had a thundering victory.
Yeah.
Did the Congress not exploit it to win a great victory? And why not?
But
and to win a victory in the elections, why not? If the nation performs well, and the highest performance of a nation state is on the battlefield, life and death struggle. If you do well there, why should the political party
undeniable.
Generally, you at least had a victory. You had a real victory. So here, what you are doing is you are taking one little raid over the LOC and making it out as though you won a great battle.
But hang on.
That's something that we shouldn't be discussing.
Yeah, because
you see, the bigger issue, what happened. The bigger issue is this: what the political parties are saying, that do you put military soldiers on posters for benefit of a political party to gains? Now that is incorrect.
Okay, and General Bakshi, so let me ask you directly. So if military victories are being put onto political parties, posters, if marketing is being done on the coffins of dead Indian soldiers wrapped in the flag and saying salute them and all that, and it's a marketing tool that people are doing, is that something which you think is correct?
Look, if the country's economy does well, who takes credit? The government of the day. If they are doing well in the foreign affairs field, who takes the credit? The government of the day. If they are doing well in the military field, I don't see why that same rule shouldn't apply.
Army serves the nation and not any political party. There is no dispute.
Not.
But when a political party like the government tries to steal the credit from the army, to say, the defense minister gets up to say it is my and RSS training that led to the surgical strike across the border, that downgrades the status, the valor of the Indian army. When he says that Indian army was like Hanuman and I made them realize their prowess, that degrades that.
We've heard you making
that
this point.
That is politicization of the army to the fullest.
We've heard you making the point. I want to get General Bakshi's reaction to that.